Well, it's that time again with all the Christmas sales and shopping going on, and there's literally thousands of coffee machines that have come out onto the market, some this year, some that have been around for ages, and I just feel like I want to buy them all. That'd be insane. I can't spend all day here listing out every single coffee machine that's on the market between the prices of $1,000 and $3,000. I'd be here literally all day. So I've broken down some of my favorites and the ones that I think that you might find most valuable if you're looking at machines between this price bracket. So if you think I've missed your favorite machine, drop it in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the button that says like, as in I like this video, and that helps me know that I'm making the right videos for you guys. But let's get into the machines to buy from 1,000 to 3,000. It's coming up. Well, first up, it's the same as I did with my last video. I really love this machine. It's the Rancilio Silvia. I think they're up to version 6 now. Actually, I think it's just slightly under the $1,000 US mark. And if you're in Australia, it's a little bit over $1,000. But it's a very good machine for that entry-level price of around $1,000. And it will make just amazing espresso for you. It doesn't have all the functions and features of some of the other higher-end machines. But for something with reliability, these have been around 30 years. They originally started with gifting them to people who bought the espresso machines for their cafes. They got a little home machine as well. Rancilio was the first coffee machine that I ever owned. So I have a little bit of a sweet spot for this. So I really do love these machines. They're a bit boxy. They're not the most sexiest machines, especially with what's out there now. But if you just want great coffee and you're not so fussed about all the fandangled features and everything like that, then the Rancilio Silvia is perfect. So the Rancilio Silvia comes with all commercial parts. It's 58mm portafilter and group head, which means it's the standard commercial machine equipment, which means you can buy any tamper, any portafilter, and you don't have to really worry about the size like some of the other machines do. It has a 300 milliliter boiler. It is only a single boiler, which means you can't do milk and coffee at the same time, but it is a big, nice 300 milliliter boiler, which means you can make a lot of coffees on it and produce a lot of steam on it, no matter how many coffees you have to make in the morning. But it is a brass boiler, and a lot of people prefer the stainless steel ones. Of course, the beauty of Rancilio is that it can be modified, and there's a huge modding community out there who will help you put in things like PIDs and pressure profilers and extra things that you can get in there, and you can customize the panels and change out the portafilter. If you're an engineer, or if you really enjoy getting into mechanical parts and taking them apart, putting in things, adding them, twisting them, turning around, doing whatever you want, this is a great machine for that, because it's literally unbreakable, pretty much unbreakable, and you will be able to make some of the best espresso that you can with a little bit of finessing and a little bit of understanding. It's a bit of a learning curve, and you do have to, if you haven't installed the modded PID, which is a water temperature stabilizer, it will be a little bit tricky because you have to do what's called a temperature surf, which isn't that hard, but it's just a series of pressing buttons, making sure the temperature is as stable and as best for extracting espresso before then moving on to your milk. So the pros are, it's relatively cheap, super reliable, makes great tasting espresso, can be modded, and has a huge modding family, so you can just go out there into the world and connect with other Rancilio heads and get all of the information you like and share your love for the Rancilio. It's huge, it's a great community. That's a really big benefit to these machines. The cons are it's a little bit boxy, it doesn't have any features, it doesn't even have a pressure gauge for you to be able to see if the pressure's dropping or not. It has no PID, has no other features and benefits, and it's a little bit tricky to master. Not too much, but it's just if you're starting out in the world of coffee and this is your first machine, I wouldn't recommend this one. Overall, I think it's a fantastic machine. I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, another machine that also falls into this range, similar to the Rancilio Silvia, is the ECM Casa 5. Now, again, it's a single boiler. It is pretty boxy. It's not the most glamorous or fancy machine, and you can get them with PIDs, but it does have commercial grade quality parts, 58mm portafilter, and it does have an OPV valve, which is an overpressure valve, and this is external, so it means that you can play around with pressure on the machine to adjust your extractions if you wish. Now, you can't do this whilst you're making your coffee. It's not like a pressure profiling machine like the Cinesso here or other machines. However, if you want to try a 6-bar extraction, or you want to try a 3-bar extraction, you want to do a really nice light roast and almost give it a filter sort of extraction, or maybe you want to play around with some of the heavier pressures like 11-bar extractions, You can do that by just adjusting it with a simple screwdriver after you've extracted or before you've extracted, while the machine is idle. Make sure it is idle. You are playing with pressure and you don't want it to blow off in your face. However, if you're starting out on your journey of coffee, this is a fantastic machine. It's very slim. It's about 22 centimeters wide, which is about 8.9 inches. Very, very nice. And it just comes in around that $1,000 mark in the US. So it's very affordable for those who are looking in that price range. The pros are it's cheap, it's reliable, commercial in quality, but small in size, and it has the overpressure valve, which allows you to play around with the pressure profiles. The cons is that it's a single boiler, which means you can't do milk and coffee at the same time. It doesn't have your functions like your PID or PreInfusion or any of those extra features that come on some of the other machines I'll mention later. And it is a little bit plain looking. Overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. My next recommendation could probably fit across a lot of these videos because it's a brand that I have come to love over the years called Leite. Now, Leite have been bought by Breville, and Breville aren't known for their, fantastic ones. They do have great dual boiler machine, and the Bambino's pretty good as well, but they're not specifically known for the really reliable commercial machines. But they've brought on Leite, and I think if they do manage to keep the production quality of Leite and add in some of the tech and stuff that they've been using in their Breville machines, could be really good. But Leite, as it stands, are a fantastic, reliable machine, come from Italy. They've been around a long time, and they have a huge range of machines, ranging from the cheapest, which is, just under $1,000, and you can check out the video here. But also they have every different types right up to $5,000 plus. So depending on what you want and what features are, check out Leite. The ones that I'll cover that fall within the 1 to 3K are the Anna with the PID. And the PID is that water temperature stabilizer. So that just gives you more consistent temperature water and more control over it. Falls in just around that 1K mark. And it is important to note that with this particular machine, it is a 57 mil portafilter, not a 58 mil. And that is important if you're buying things like a 58 mil tamper, or you've got puck screens or dispersion screens, baskets, anything like that, naked portafilters. All of those things have to be that same size, otherwise they won't fit. And this could be a problem when you're spending $150 on a portafilter only to receive it to find out that it doesn't fit. So be aware that some of the Leite models, the lower end ones, are 57 mil, not 58. Not sure why, but that's what they decided to do. Grace is 57 mil as well, but it has a few more features and a little bit nicer looking than just your Annas. Then you have your Anita, which is 57 mil, but has a built-in grinder as well. I don't always recommend buying the built-in grinders because they do heat your beans up, and obviously adding coffee fine dust with moisture and heat does corrode, and you'll eventually wear out some parts of the internal of the machine. However, that's your decision to do, and don't have to worry about that for at least 5 years plus more. But when you're buying a machine that can last 15 to 20 years, it's important to recognize that the grinder being in the machine will reduce the lifespan. So it's best where possible to buy a separate grinder. Beyond that, you have the Victoria, and the Victoria is 58 mil, which is great. So you're starting to get into that 58 mil range now. Then beyond that, you've got the Kate, which has the grinder built in, and then the Elizabeth, which is my favorite of all, which has dual boiler properties. And that means that you can do coffee and milk simultaneously. So a lot of these other ones, you have to switch it over, wait for the steam to go, then you can do your milk. This, you can do them simultaneously. It just makes it easier, quicker to get your coffee in the morning. So yeah, it's hard to cover all the machines in here, but I would say check out the Leite range, see which one has the benefits for you and is in that price range for you, and then you can make a decision. You can't really go wrong with this brand. Such a great machine. And I give them all an 8 out of 10. I'm going to talk about the one Breville machine that I really think still has a place in my heart because I don't like appliance machines that much. And the Breville dual boiler is the only appliance machine that I really feel like I actually do love. Aside from the fact that it's an appliance machine and they don't last. Everything else is brilliant. This machine is a dual boiler, which means you can do milk and espresso at the same time. It's super compact. Like if you want to start getting coffee great at home and you have very little experience, the dual boiler is fantastic. Makes it so easy. You can add PreInfusion. It's all 58 mil components in there, so you don't have to worry about the size restrictions. They're commercial parts, except for the chassis and some of the internals, but a lot of commercial parts in there. So it really is commercial or prosumer machine, but just built with a few shortcuts to make it cheaper. Normally a dual boiler, you're looking at 3,000 plus. this particular one in Australia, now this really only applies for Australians, in Australia is about $1,000, $1,200, or you can buy it with the grinder, the Breville Smart Grinder Pro, for about $1,500. Unfortunately, overseas, the prices go all over the place, and I don't know why. I see places in Philippines where it's $2,500. In the US, it's somewhere around $2,000. In the UK, it's somewhere $2,000. It doesn't make this machine valuable at that price range. One of the things that makes this machine so valuable is the fact that you can get it for around $1,000 to $1,200. And for most dual boilers, you just can't get that price. When it starts getting the $2,500 or anywhere around that $2,000 mark, zero value in it. I just don't believe there's value in having this machine anymore, because spend a little bit more, you can get a dual boiler machine that's going to last you 15 years instead of 5. And so with the Breville dual boiler, for those of you who live in Australia or can find it around that $1,200 mark, the pros are it's cheap. It's a dual boiler machine, so easy to use. You get cafe quality espresso every single time, very easily. No learning curve really at all. And it has a whole bunch of extra features in there, like the PreInfusion, the PID. It has 58mm commercial parts, portafilter, got a whole bunch of extra little trays that you can hide away in there. And I just think it's a great machine overall for its price. The cons are that it's an appliance machine. So something's going to go wrong with it. It's a $20 piece inside that they've used plastic instead of nice polycarbonate. They have broken that, and now you got to spend $600, $700 getting it repaired to fix that $20 part. Not worth it. That's one of the big cons of it. The other con is that it does take up a fair amount of space. Like, it is big, and if you're looking for a coffee machine and a grinder and your accessories, you do have to be aware that this will take up a bigger chunk of your bench space and real estate. So that might be a factor to consider in your kitchen. So really, the other big con is just the price overseas, where it's no longer value for money. But other than that, I think it's a brilliant machine. I give it a 9 out of 10 if you're buying it in Australia, and I would give it a 6 out of 10 if you're buying it overseas. Now here's where things get interesting or confusing, depending on how you look at it. You might have seen these weird looking upside down tuber looking things on some of the fronts of some machines. This is called an E61 Group Head, and an E61 was developed by Faema in 1961. So when this was first developed in Italy, in Milan, there were obviously a lot of commercial machine manufacturers around there at the same time, and they all used to share information, steal information from others. So a lot of these machines have now an E61 Group Head, and they're very easy to see. You can see the shape here, looks like an upside down tuber, and they are all very similar. Now, they do need to be modded with PID to get that extra stabilization in the temperature of the water. But one of the benefits that the E61 machine has over all the other machines is that it has what's called a mechanical pre-infusion. This was an accidental pre-infusion. What they realized later on when pre-infusion became a thing is that you can half lift the lever on the side halfway up, and that just opens the valve solenoid to allow the water on. So you get hot water without any pressure trickling onto the bed of coffee, and starts extracting some of those oils, and it creates a nice solid bed. But then when you apply the pressure, you can easily extract all those oils. Now, unlike regular coffee machines that don't have a pre-infusion, which just smacks it with 9 bars of pressure straight away and can crack open the puck if it's not prepped properly and cause channeling and all sorts of bitterness and sourness and rubbish everywhere. So that is why the pre-infusion is quite handy, and the E61 is just mechanical pre-infusion comes with it. So it's not a true pre-infusion, but it's definitely a really good option, and you can experiment with how that pre-infusion, the times to get fresher coffees to release less carbon dioxide and just get older coffees to taste better still. So it's really good to play around with that sort of thing if you're into that. But there's so many machine manufacturers out there: Profitech, VBM, Becerra, Iberital, Izzy. There's so many. I can't even list them all, but I'm just picking a few that are my favorites right here, starting with none other than my all-time favorite, Profitech. And I love Profitech because it's a German and Italian engineering manufactured company. And so we know you have the precision engineering of the Germans, and then of course geniuses behind espresso of the Italians. So you're really getting the best of both worlds here. So the Profitech Pro 400, it's a brilliant machine. It's $1,500 around about US dollars, and it does have heat exchange capabilities, which means for those of you who want to make coffee and milk at the same time, this will do it easily. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a regular PID, but it does come with a preset temperature, which range from about 248 to 262 in Fahrenheit. For Celsius is about 94 to 97, 98, something around that. It gives you the ability to still, if you want to have light roasted coffee, to be able to extract that. If you have darker roasted coffee, you can change the temperature to extract it better for those sorts as well, but it doesn't give you full range like a regular PID. However, I think it's brilliant for what it is, and being a heat exchange, having the ability to do milk and espresso at the same time, so what really makes this one very, very popular. A lot of these E61s have chrome finishes, so they don't really stand out. However, you can really customize them yourself by getting them powder coated by companies like Spec Designs down in Melbourne. They will do beautiful custom coating on the sides, paneling, timber features, whatever you like. But if you don't have budget to do that, you can just go in and use the color discs. It comes with color discs, and that just adds a bit of pop of color to make it a bit more personal. Maybe a highlighted color in your household, like a blue or a red or something like that. So doesn't give you full customization, but it gives you a little bit of color to show off on your counter. Has a no burn steam one, which is coming more popular, I think, in these more newer modern machines, which I think is really good because some of the old ones, like the Rancilio, burning hot. And if you accidentally touch it on the inside of your arm here as you're reaching across it, really hurts. So I know that from my own personal experience, but just so you know, the cool touch means that you can hold it. It is still warm, so you don't want to be getting it on your sensitive areas, but it's not going to burn you if you just accidentally grab hold of it. It has dual pressure gauges as well, which I really love, and a 2.8 litre boiler, which is fantastic, just endless amounts of steam and water for you, and just really great at just pumping out coffees back to back to back. Overall, I give it a 9 out of 10. A couple of other quick ones in the E61 range, and really, if you buy E61, you're not going to be upset. Like, there's just such a great quality to E61 type machines that there's a reason they're so popular. There's a reason so many manufacturers continue now, even what are we, 60 years on, still manufacturing the same type with minor few adjustments to it, but the E61 is still so popular. Outside of the Profitech 400, I really recommend the ECM Classica or the Puristica if you wish to go without any steam. You can just get pure espresso. It comes with a huge reservoir on the side, which makes it really easy to see the water levels. However, I think after the initial wow factor, reservoir gets a bit annoying because you can't really place it anywhere, and often the space that you need on your bench is for a grinder and other accessories, so you don't want a big water reservoir sitting on there. However, it still looks pretty cool, and yeah, if you don't need to use steam ever, never making milk drinks or anything like that, then this is perfect because it cuts out that. Wager, the Wager Mini Nova is a really good brand as well. Wager have been around for ages, and I just think even though this machine is pretty standard, it doesn't have any PID or pre-infusion special factors in it, because it is a heat exchange machine. It does allow you to do coffee and milk simultaneously, and it just looks different. It's like it comes in a black with some timber accents on it, so it makes it really easy for you as well. Some of the matte black finishes and the timber handles, you can get it to look a bit more custom into your household. So Wago, give a 7 out of 10. And then Quick Mill Pippa is another one that also comes in a black with timber finishes. Quick Mill have been around for ages, but they don't get talked about much. So I'd like to give them a little bit of a shout out, let them know they made my list of the best coffee machines of this year. These E61s, they aren't super over the top fancy. They just are really solid machines, and you're gonna have so much fun making coffee on them no matter which brand you buy. From the E61s, we're going to look at some dual boilers that I really love. And there aren't many dual boilers in this range, but the one that really stands out is the Profitech Pro 300, which is a fantastic dual boiler machine. It's a little bit boxy, more along the lines of the Rancilio and the ECM Casa, but they are very, very, very reliable machines. And I think when you have a dual boiler, you really notice how quick it is to do everything, because once it's heated up and your portafilter is ready to go, you can make a coffee as fast as you can make a coffee in a commercial environment, and as good as a cafe quality coffee tastes as well. And normally the dual boilers are quite a lot bigger because they obviously have 2 boilers in there. These aren't super over the top large. They're smaller boilers, so you got a 750ml steam boiler and a 400ml brew boiler. It's all 58ml commercial portafilter parts, PID temperature control. It has a no burn steam wand. It does, however, not come with a pre-infusion, which is really weird because I guess it doesn't have the mechanical pre-infusion built in like the E61. However, I wish they had just put that on there. I don't feel like it takes a lot of tech to build in that. Maybe it does, and maybe they wanted to keep that price point really tight. These Profitech Pro 300s come in about $1,900 US, so they're pretty reasonable for their price. I don't know why they didn't add the pre-infusion in there. Maybe it blew out the cost too much, but that's still a great machine. Pros are obviously dual boiler, really high quality, German, Italian manufacturing. You have a PID stabilizer on there. You have the ability to do milk and coffee at the same time. No burn steam one's fantastic as well. Cons are, it does have a limited steam power. I do notice because the steam is only 0.75 mils, you might run out and you might have it a little bit weaker than some of the other with the bigger dual boilers and with the other single boilers with a heavier duty boiler. A few of the other cons that I find with it is that it is a little bit noisy with the vibratory pump. They are always a little bit more noisier. Not super noisy, but it's a little bit, that might be a consideration for you. A couple of weird features like just having programmable shot times on there as well. It has a timer, but it doesn't allow you to actually program it in. So yeah, overall, really solid choice for anyone seeking those dual boilers with the range. I give it a 9 out of 10. Another one is the Profitech Go. Profitech features a lot in this video. I just really love their engineering, German, Italian manufacturing. Profitech Go is fantastic. It comes in about $1,100 US, and it isn't the most fancy machine, but it does come in a range of colors, which I think is great because people want to start matching up the decor of their kitchen with their machines now. And so this gives you the ability to get closer to matching rather than just having the chrome. But it is a single boiler still, which means you have to switch over from espresso to steaming milk. So it does take that bit longer, but it's a compact and sleek design. And I just think that the Profitech Go is great for someone who just wants a small little machine that looks really nice and is super high quality, durable machine, making fantastic tasting espresso as well on the bench. So don't have to worry about all the fancy features and benefits. This one will just make you great espresso every time. As a result, I give it an overall 9 out of 10. My final recommendation for coffee machines 1 to 3,000 is Rancilio Silvia Pro X. Would be remiss not to mention this one because I did talk about the Rancilio Silvia, but the Pro X is a dual boiler version of the same machine with a lot of upgraded features. And whilst I really do think some of the other machines are fantastic, I have a soft spot in my heart for Rancilio. It comes in a couple of colors you can see here, and you can watch the full video that interviewed Rancilio and the guys from them about this machine. A lot of the similar benefits that you have on the other dual boilers. PID, you have pre-infusion. I think one of the things that I really dislike about the Rancilio Silvia is that you have to use the same steam one for the water as well as the steam. I just like having a separate one for the water, and maybe you don't even really use water that often on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, this, I really feel like the Rancilio dual boiler is a massive upgrade to the Silvia, and if you can afford it, you have the budget, definitely consider that instead of the Silvia. A lot less of a learning curve, no more having to fiddle around with which buttons to press when and what order. This just makes it super easy to get a great coffee every single time. I give it a 9 out of 10. So that's it for me. That's what machines to buy, 1,000 to 3,000 range. Stay tuned for the other videos. I'm Ryan, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.